Story 1. I may get $1,998 or $0 depending on which color the ball lands on. Story 2. A KitchenAid mixer, cookie sheets, and all the supplies needed to make cookie boxes for all your friends and family this holiday season. Story 3. I thought my hobby was expensive until I read other comments. I am a knitter. $999 would buy me 30 skeins of higher-end yarn, which would make between 5 and 8 sweaters, not including the cost of knitting needles and other notions. Story 4. About 5 decent lathe chisels, a big pile of average wood, or a couple of really nice burls. Story 5. With $999, I could buy roughly 60 rolls of 120 film and about 10 to 15 color negative process developing kits, depending on the sizes and prices. If I wanted to print them, I would need another $999. This is for medium format color film photography. If you use 35mm or black and white film, it would be much cheaper. This estimate is to maintain the hobby, not to get started. Story 6. Either a decent 3-dimensional printer or a large amount of materials for it. Story 7. I can get a knife and a flashlight. Both are top grade. Scuba diving. Story 8. A cursory pre-purchase exam of a prospective horse occurred yesterday. Issues were found, the purchase was canceled, and $1,000 was wasted. But at least we did not make a purchase we would later regret. Story 9. A practical guitar rig for local shows or bedroom practice. A budget guitar of about $500, a multi-effects pedal with amp modeling of about $320, and the remainder for cables, a gig bag, a guitar strap, and picks. Story 10. For $999, you can get a set of adjustable dumbbells and an adjustable bench. Or, if you buy used equipment, you might be able to get a power cage, a barbell, and plates for the same amount. Story 11. A nice espresso machine setup. The grinder is the most important component. Getting something like a Gaggia Classic Pro, which I bought used for around $400 including taxes and shipping, and a Turin grinder for about $250 to $400 will leave roughly $200 for additional accessories, such as a proportional integral derivative controller for the Gaggia Classic Pro, a bottomless portafilter, a scale, nice cups, and other accessories. I am new to espresso, but I dove in headfirst, and after a few days I was pulling great tasting shots. I got my routine down to about 5 to 7 minutes between puck preparation, pulling, and cleanup. Check out the espresso subreddit for more information. Good YouTube creators are James Hoffman, Tom's Coffee Corner, Lance Hedrick, and others. Story 12. For 99 cents more, I can finally get the new Lego Death Star. Story 13. Have you ever watched Dexter? Rolls of plastic cost much less than $999. Story 14. A home espresso setup that can produce better espresso than 90% of cafes. Story 15. It would buy a lot for tabletop players. Even in the most expensive game, Warhammer 40,000, it would buy a 2,000-point army and the paints to paint it. Depending on the army you choose, you might have leftover cash to build terrain. Hundreds of hours of painting and endless enjoyment fighting the horrors of the universe. Story 16. For backpacking, $999 could get you a good set of starter gear. If you want to start optimizing your pack load and preparing for specific seasons, though, you will likely need a bit more. Story 17. A nice new bass guitar, or a few new gangs for Necromunda. Story 18. A round-trip flight from Buenos Aires to Barcelona, then a train to Switzerland, for a week in the Alps. Is this to go to the mountains for hiking? Story 19. It depends on the hobby. For climbing, that is my annual membership and any necessary equipment. For gaming, a large number of games. Story 20. A case of 5,000 rounds of 22 long rifle ammunition and 300 rounds of 9mm, with some change left. I am in Sweden, so ammunition prices are not the same as in the United States. The 22 long rifle ammunition I use is match quality only, so it is a bit more expensive than average training rounds. Story 21. The new Star Wars Lego Death Star. And I would still need to come up with the tax. Story 22. A nice disc bag, like Squatch or Grip, a disc retriever, and a bag full of premium discs. Story 23. A new riser, limbs, other accessories, or a new graphics card. Story 24. A decent mouse pad, an indie game from a Steam sale, or a pack of good guitar picks if you're lucky. Story 25. A nice used guitar, a good amplifier, and a pedal to change tones quickly. Story 26. My local used bookstore will buy between 333 and 999 books, depending on which shelves I buy from. Story 27. A small but nice summer greenhouse, a few decent raised beds, and not nearly as many nursery pots as you would expect. Story 28. This is a very cool question. I love motorcycles and combat sports. I guess I'm buying safety gear, cameras, training gear, and multiple gym memberships. Story 29. See a couple of in-demand concerts or 8 to 10 concerts by smaller, well-known artists. Story 30. Probably a mid-1970s electromechanical machine. Maybe an early Bally or Williams solid-state machine. Story 31. As a musician, I am not against buying lightly used gear and do not need top-of-the-line guitars. I can get a kick-ass Fender Telecaster and a nice amplifier to play. Made in Mexico will do just fine. Story 32. Considering I paid almost $3,000 for my horse, who is, respectfully, a never-ending veterinary expense, I would say it is probably a horse with 2 legs and herpes these days. Story 33. A top-tier Lego set. 1/4 of a modern, used pinball machine if you are lucky and find a deal. Story 34. A good selection of new Prismacolor pencils, Copic markers, Arteza watercolor markers, and some nice sketchbooks. If I buy the pencils and markers secondhand, I can have enough to get a few colors of good paint too. Story 35. 3 or 4 sides of economy leather, plenty of thread, multiple bottles of dye, and a decent basic toolkit. A set of 5 high-quality edge bevelers. A head knife. Leatherworking has a massive range in quality and price. Story 36. A decent grade late 1950s to early 1960s Mickey Mantle card. Story 37. A new multicolor 3-dimensional printer that supports 8 colors, holds 16 rolls of filament, and uses radio frequency identification for filament management. Story 38. Bring a good pair of binoculars, a journal, good hiking shoes, and a scope. Birding is like that. Story 39. A 1-year subscription to the editing software that keeps your business alive and a few dollars left over for 2 orders of Chinese food and a 6-pack of Red Bull. Story 40. I have a 75 to 100-gallon aquarium with fish included. Working at a pet store and breeding fish and other animals combines a job and a hobby. Story 41. A PlayStation 5 Pro and a few games, or an entry-level gaming desktop or laptop. Story 42. A set of reeds and a new bag each cost about $100. A chanter costs between $100 and $200. A low-quality set of pipes and stocks costs about $700. So you are almost able to afford 1 low-quality set of bagpipes. Story 43. That's not even 1 boat, so not much. Break out another 1,000. Story 44. About 2 to 3 months worth of horse feed, supplements, and roping entry fees. Story 45. If we count day trading as a hobby, I could turn $999 into $0. Story 46. A hobby? What the heck is that? $999 can go far depending on what is on sale at the liquor store. Story 47. It could get me 2 smart dolls, several American Girl dolls and clothes, or 1 or 2 festival tickets depending on the festival. Camping would cost extra. Story 48. A really nice perfect grade Gundam. Maybe some fancy tools too. Story 49. Either 50 relatively small, cheaper Gundam models or a few large models with lots of detail, and whatever I might need to paint them. Story 50. A new very fancy disc golf bag for $400 if I am being extravagant, and a whole lot of discs and accessories. Story 51. After reading some of the posts in this thread, I feel grateful that my hobbies are, for the most part, very inexpensive. I could get an excellent disc bag, a full set of discs, and a portable practice basket for about $400 maximum. The most expensive part of my hobbies is always the travel costs, such as gas, hotels, food, and so on, that I incur driving to cool places to play disc golf or to go hiking and backpacking. Story 52. Maybe 3 tennis rackets when they are first released, but for a year later. Story 53. 4 music production. 2M Audio BX 3 studio monitors, $250. 2 auxiliary cables, $10 to $20. Scarlett 2i2 audio interface, $200. Serum 2 virtual studio technology plugin, $249. Hewlett-Packard 15.6-inch laptop. Intel Core i3, 8 GB memory, 128 GB universal flash storage, natural silver, model 15 FD0113DX, $200. Splice sample library subscription, $12 to $20 per month. With this setup, you can produce modern music with industry-standard sound and equipment. Story 54. A somewhat premium disc golf fairway driver, a mid-range, a putter, and about $939 worth of beer. Story 55. You can get really good binoculars and buy guidebooks, or take a trip to see birds elsewhere. Story 56. With $999, I could get soil, fertilizer, and many new plants for my garden, or 3 or 4 raised garden beds, or several new trees. Story 57. Used music equipment. Very good guitar with amplifier, cables, and electronic pedal board. $800. Ready for open microphone. 88 key MIDI, musical instrument digital interface, keyboard with bass amplifier and cables, microphone stand and microphone. $900. Ready for open microphone and recording. Find a friend with a good MacBook. 61 to 88 key MIDI, musical instrument digital interface, keyboard, iPad a couple of years old, and bass amplifier for home studio. $1,001. May need to broaden the search for deals. Story 58. A nice wetsuit and mask, probably. Diving with a self-contained underwater breathing apparatus is expensive. Story 59. A Weber Smoky Mountain cooker, 100 pounds of charcoal, 10 bottles of spices, and 100 pounds of meat. Story 60. Seemingly nothing when cycling, everything when crocheting. Story 61. Depending on how premium I decide to go, about 10 new good quality pieces or 1 premium quality piece. Story 62. $999 to anyone who wants it. I play poker and I am not good at it. Story 63. I collect vintage 1980s and 1990s toys, specifically Generation 1 My Little Pony figures. If I could find a private seller, I might be able to haggle the price on a Rapunzel pony available only by mail order. It is the holy grail for collectors. Story 64. The Dolphus Meag and Company storage cabinet with 500 skeins of floss, plus a floss cone, and whatever money is left will go toward Ida fabric, needles, and extra skeins. Story 65. 15 to 20 dances in the back room, possibly useful if she is offering any Groupon specials that shift. Story 66. A pretty decent pre-owned guitar that used to cost maybe $3,000. Story 67. Worst case. Less than a Lego set. That is still a good amount, enough for a large set, a couple of smaller ones, or some spare parts. It may not be the best entry into the hobby, but it is certainly enough to test interest or to continue growing a current collection. Story 68. A bunch of Xbox games, a new gaming headset, and Game Pass Ultimate for the rest. Or if I put it all toward Ultimate, about 3 months. Just kidding. Story 69. That is a dangerous amount to spend on my hobby. If we are talking about my setup, I would probably go all out on some gear upgrades. Maybe a new mechanical keyboard, a high-quality monitor, or some fancy desk lighting just because it looks cool purely for the vibes. Story 70. About 7 pairs of shoes, for if we are talking racing shoes. Stop reminding me how expensive my supposedly cheap hobby is. Story 71. My most significant hobby is being a trained wildlife rescuer and rehabilitator volunteer. I work with all wildlife with a focus on persecuted or dangerous species. I am in South America, so currency conversion would make the funds go much further. Authorities do nothing here unless the animal is well known or considered attractive. I have been doing this for almost 2 decades. With $1,000, by rough calculations, I could save and rehabilitate approximately around 100 birds, including songbirds, parrotlets, owls, macaws, and others. This would cover new rehab cages, species-specific food, medication, enrichment, and training items to prepare them for returning to the wild. Around 50 to 100 small mammals vital to the tropical ecosystem, including injured or orphaned individuals that require months of care and the same supplies as above. Medication and supplies to treat more than 200 different cases on the road, including painkillers, first aid, and sedatives. About 20 pieces of equipment for animal and human safety that I still cannot afford and that need to be zoo-grade. Examples include a long-handled capture net made of stainless steel, a larger and longer capture lasso with a steel cable covered in rubber for caimans and similar animals, strong ropes and carabiners of various lengths for escaped horses, and livestock in urban areas, about 3 industrial buckets with screw lids for dangerous snakes, a larger and sturdier net to capture arachnids and flying insects without damaging them, anti-puncture and slash-resistant gloves for animals with quills or barbs, and certified anti-snakebite boots for working in deep rainforest where I often cannot see my feet. This is only a portion of what is needed. It would make a huge difference because I am in a low-income country and the conversion rate would be significant. If anyone wants to help save tropical wildlife directly with any amount of money, I can be contacted by direct message. I can provide PayPal information and timestamped photos and videos of past and future rescues. Story 72. Half of the sword I've been eyeing for a while. Alternatively, 2 complete sets of pedal harp strings. Story 73. With that much, I could buy 1 really nice upper mid-range guitar. I could buy anywhere from 5 to 20 different pedals. I could get a really nice amplifier. I could mix and match the previous 3 options. It all depends on what I value most at the moment. Anderton's Television has been doing random budget challenges for guitarists for nearly a decade, so this is well-worn ground. In reality, I would get stuck in analysis paralysis and never make a decision because I would be worried I had made the wrong one. Story 74. That is going to get me a bunch of fun art supplies. If I have to pick one, it would be 1. A ton of yarn. 2. Lots of jewelry making supplies such as beads, string, and clasps. 3. Many resin art supplies such as resin, molds, and mica powder for color. 4. A lot of paint. Or I could be nerdy and get supplies for Dungeons and Dragons like dice and miniatures. Story 75. A quality vacuum chamber, reliable resin tools, a large quantity of resin, and attractive items to embed in resin. Story 76. Crocheting roughly 284 skeins of beginner-friendly yarn from Hobby Lobby for the little stuffed animals I make, excluding taxes. Story 77. Either 1 massively expensive rock or several lovely but expensive specimens. Story 78. I have 3 hobbies that require money. All 3 are sports. The easiest expense would be a gym membership, but I will assume this is mainly about gear and accessories beyond essential gym equipment. Hobby 1. Weightlifting. With $999, you could buy a lot for weightlifting. The main expense would be athletic clothing. You could get multiple gym outfits. You could also buy attachments or protein powder. Hobby 2. Boxing. $400 to $500 could go to a pair of high-quality gloves and heavy bag gloves. The rest could pay for clothing or boxing shoes, and perhaps a heavy bag or a weighted medicine ball for at-home exercises. Hobby 3. Climbing. High-quality climbing shoes can cost $200 or more. Magnesium chalk, a chalk bag, and athletic clothing are other typical purchases. I also have a gaming personal computer, so $999 could go toward a 50 series graphics card. Story 79. It is an ever so slightly better version of the one I already have, but the one I want costs £15,000. I play the piano. Story 80. Puzzle board. 55. Puzzles 35. Packs of loose wool 20. Polymer clay packs 60. Beading wire 50. Crimp beads 20. 4K monitor 550. Packs of beads 209. Story 81. $999 $1 comics, or any combination of other priced issues, or plenty of storage supplies for comics. Story 82. Half of a set of golf clubs. I wonder if they would let me buy just the odd-numbered or even-numbered clubs. Story 83, $999 could buy 4 high-quality LED juggling clubs, an aerial hoop with tape and a carrying bag plus a high-quality strap from Europe, although tariffs would likely eliminate any margin. A pair of aerial straps with the hardware to rig them in 4 classes, or, if I wanted to go really wild, about 1/3 of a contortion table. It turns out that even recreational circus arts are expensive. Story 84. A decent set of used golf clubs, some balls, tees, a glove, golf shoes, and some money to spare for a round or two. Pair of running shoes and some clothes. Story 85. Enough filament to keep my friends and family happy through the holidays. Story 86. I want a pretty good new high-frequency rig or a good way to reach the antenna tower. Story 87. I have a few plans. I'll concentrate on gardening. That includes buying a couple of high-end grow lights to start my seeds, buying seeds for the year, and likely fertilizer. It will also pay for a decent portion of the water as the cherry on top. Story 88. A new set of decent irons or a used set of premium irons. Story 89. Long-range shooting is my hobby. I cannot afford to purchase much. My rifle costs about $5,000, my scope about $2,000, and even my scope rings cost $500. I would probably buy bullets and powder, since I can always use more ammunition for shooting. Story 90. A not-so-nice but still okay personal computer or a pretty good 3-dimensional printer with some accessories and filament to get you started. Story 91. You can get a discount on a Fender Ultra 2 guitar if you call the Guitar Center salesperson. Story 92. I'm a scuba diver. I could buy a good regulator, a buoyancy compensator, or a high-end wetsuit with that kind of money. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.